Aloha, everybody, and thank you for waiting an extra few minutes to get the show started. Couple of technical difficulties before we jumped into the hot room, the Zoom room, which is kind of going around right now, I think. But hey, we're here and it's all good. For those of you who are new to Tales from the Mer World, my name is Ameera Mer Healer. I live on the beautiful island of Kauai, and this is a show where where I share with you my remembrances of the ancient lands of Atlantis and Lemuria. You can find me at ameerabeth.com. I'm an advanced level past life regression therapist and intuitive healer, 13th chakra healer, and also steward a crystal infused sacred geometry clothing company called Wisdom Wear. And today I am very excited about this show. And if you're watching me live on Facebook right now, you will see that I have before me two of the most beautiful beings walking the planet right now, my very dear friends, Todd Medina and Morgan Lee, who are currently coming to us from Florida, yeah?
Yeah.
Yes. So not only do I know Todd and Morgan from being on their Soulology, and we're going to talk a little bit about Soulology here in a moment, I also know them in the real world. Todd and Morgan spent some time on Kauai last year, and I was able to spend some time with them in the physical, take a little adventure on the island, as well as participate in Soulology a couple of times while they were here. And so they've moved away. And of course, we have stayed in very close contact. I'm an avid fan of both of their show Soulology. And I'll just give a little introduction about Todd and Morgan, about who they are and what they are doing out in the world. And then I'll talk to you a little bit about what's going to happen today. So as a divine union couple, Morgan and Todd are creators of Soulology, a platform where souls share experiences, skills, and abilities. Todd and Morgan are dedicated to anchoring divine unions back to the planet. Morgan is a quantum energy guide focused on personal transformation, Heroes Gamos, and the return of the mother goddess energy. Todd is a speaker, broadcaster, artist, writer, and producer. And he can also lay down some pretty good spiritual rap tracks. Welcome, both of you, to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you, Ameera.
And thank you for wearing your wisdom wear.
Yeah,
That's
we
right.
love it. We were so excited to get it. It's just absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, you know, the red is fantastic on you both. Red, of course, is the color of love. That's why I chose to send you the fiery red passion shirts. The Sri Yantra that Todd has on, one of the many meanings of in Hinduism is the 9 interlocking triangles represent the union of the masculine and feminine. That's my favorite variation or interpretation of the Sri Yantra. And then, of course, you've got the flower of life in the shape of a beautiful heart. So, you know, colors felt right to me, emblems felt right to me, and I'm glad that you are enjoying them.
Oh, yes, we really are. They're absolutely.
Talk to us about Soulology. Give us kind of the quick and dirty about your platform, about why you developed it, and what you're passionate about.
You want to do that?
Yeah, why don't I do this for a change? Because you
Tell us where people can find you as well.
Oh, I can't do that. I have no idea how to even find myself, let alone Soulology. So Todd, how long ago?
9 years ago.
9 years ago, hopped on and created Soulology. He got the name of Soulology on my birthday before we met, and he created, and he was told directly that you need to create this group called Soulology. In the beginning years, he used to hop on there and do his raps, share all his poetry, share his current intel at the time. And so by the time I met him, I think there was already 14,000.
Yeah, probably 12. 14.
There was already, somewhere between 10 and 14,000 following. I had, at a similar sort of time, got the intel that, I was doing all this work alone, and how much more exciting and less personal would be if if there was a network of all of us being able to talk, you know, with each other, share our stories, our gifts, our tools. Like, I understood that all the pieces of the puzzle needed to come together. So when I met Todd, I started talking to him about my dream, which actually fitted very well to what he'd already started. And then it sort of took off from there, didn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you're going to share the other bits that I don't know.
Well, so she came in September 3rd of 2015, and so once we connected, we talked every day, and then probably like 6 weeks into it, she said, you know, you ought to start having conversations with people and not just make it about you, you know. And so I said, okay. So slowly, took about another year probably, and we started doing it. So we were almost at 2,000 shows now. And the interesting thing is too, when we were in Kauai, we were there for 10 months. We had many dimensional experiences, as we always do. But one of the things that happened was we actually consciously and really physically entered a monad of 24. And it was there on that land, as it was presented to us, that we had met with this monad. The last time we had been consciously, physically in the monad was about 60 years before. I'm 57 at the time. And so it would have been right before my incarnation. And that at that point, the monad decided to support the initiative of Soulology. So it actually happened in the energetic dimensions before we physically met.
You know, and I know from watching the two of you and watching the evolution of Soulology over the past year and a half that I've known you, you know, your audience participation and the speakers, like you guys are definitely on the leading edge of the new earth paradigm of what a talk show platform is going to be all about. So I've been able to witness, you know, the exponential growth that has happened. And I really think the reason the two of you have such an amazing, you know, draw from your audience, and really people just adore the two of you. And it really comes back to how the two of you adore one another. Mm. Your audience and the people who love you and support you are really a reflection of the adoration that the two of you hold for one another, that just is so clear and present at all times. The two of you are completely 100% real about all of it. You know, you hold that divine template of the divine union couple, the twin flame couple, whatever we want to call it, so beautifully and authentically. And it's really your hearts, it's really your souls, your hearts and souls coming through Soulology that keep these people really so enchanted. And I'm just going to use the word enchanted by everything that you bring forward to, you know, to helping us co-create the new earth. And, you know, my journey with being curious about twin flames and supporting twin flames started several years ago. I did a video with the Leo King, with David Lawrence Palmer. He came to my house and we actually sat down and did a YouTube video together on twin flames and on soul purpose and things like that. And since that video was released, you know, I've been working as a past life regression and soul progression therapist for many years. The number one thing people want to come to me and learn about is love. Everybody's looking for love, right? And so to be able to have the two of you here and kind of bring it full circle, as a person who is still in process of balancing my own masculine, feminine energies, honoring that as I await the union or reunion with my beloved, you know, I'm going to do something today that I've never done in a video before, and that's ask one or both of you. Sounds like it's going to be Todd, and mostly, to go into trance and allow me to ask questions to you about twin flame divine union templates, questions that I have, and then also an opportunity for your higher selves to talk about whatever they want the planet to know, whatever they want us to know out in the world. And so instead of just a normal question and answer where, you know, you're speaking from just your conscious, I'm going to ask you to go into your subconscious and allow your subconscious and your higher self maybe to bring forward some information that you've not shared before, simply because the question hasn't been asked, or maybe the timing just hasn't been quite right to release the information. Because I feel this year there's going to be a huge wave of divine couple unions. I feel that many of us are on the brink, prepared for that to come forward in a very significant way. So anything that you would have to share from us, from your higher selves and from the union. And I know that Todd, when Morgan channels, you're really channeling each other.
Yes.
It's really a channeling of the Vesica Pisces, or that triangulation that the two of you have between you. So as you speak, Morgan is also speaking. As Morgan speaks, you are also speaking. I fully realize that we get the dynamic duo. No matter who's holding the conversation. So we're going to take a short break here in a minute or two. We're just going to take one break during this show so I can really devote the time to speaking and holding space for the two of you. I want to thank you very much for allowing me to trusting me and allowing me to open up the space for this channeling of your higher selves, your other aspects, whatever we want to call it to come through and do something really nice, and maybe something really unique from other shows that you have been on, and other shows that I have held as well. And before we go to break, I want to give a real quick shout out also. All these beautiful images you all see behind me every time I do a show belong to a Big Island artist. His name is Jean-Luc Boisselet. And he very graciously allows me to utilize his art in my videos and on my website. You can find him at The Eye Within. I chose this image because of the beautiful divine union couple that's kind of hiding behind my back. So I needed to make sure that was shown. With this lotus flower just bursting over that, signifies crown chakra, higher chakras, divine union, all of it. So thank you very much to Mr. Jean-Luc Boisselet for sharing his amazing artwork with me and with the world. And having said that, we're going to take a short commercial break. And when we come back, we will come right to it. Aloha and welcome back to Tales from the Merworld Radio. I am your hostess, Ameera Beth Merhealer. If you're just joining us, I have the special pleasure today to have as my guests Mr. Todd Morgan and Ms. Morgan Lee of Sology One Studios. Todd and Morgan are a divine union couple, and today they have agreed to come onto my show and participate in a little bit of an experiment where they are going to allow me, Todd is going to allow me to put him in a little bit of a trance. He can actually do this all by himself, I hear. But as a past life regression facilitator, I'll set a little bit of protocols around the session, and then just ask Todd to drop into the space so we can all get some fresh intel on what it's like to be a divine union couple, what that really means, what that means maybe outside of what we have been heard or been told kind of traditionally out in the world. I want to talk a little bit about, Todd, I want to talk a little bit about some of the myths and the mistruths about twin flames, about what that means. So as we go through this together, and you allow me to ask you some questions, right? I feel that you will just beautifully bring forward the most authentic, pure information possible, because that is the frequency the two of you reside in. And I'm going to thank you ahead of time for being willing to do this, for being brave, because it does take a little bit of courage to do something like this live and in person.
No pressure.
No, absolutely no pressure at all. So without further ado, and I'll be honest with you, I'm a little bit nervous. Like, I've done regressions millions of times. So I have the biggest shaman elder Andara that I could find to help myself just stay really grounded and present, because, you know, the energy that is already flowing is very high and very wonderful. And again, I want to thank you both for trusting me and being willing to take part in this little experiment. If you are listening to me live and cannot see Todd and Morgan, see us all together, please know that you can jump on my Facebook page, my public page, Ameera Beth Mer Healer, and watch us. Or if you're unable to do that, there will be a YouTube video that will be up tomorrow, where you can come back and listen and watch again, and actually see how this all goes down. Okay. So without further ado, Todd, I am going to just open up the space around us and encircle us in a beautiful globe of gold and white light, and just ask that all transmissions that come between the three of us and spirit be surrounded and protected by the Holy Spirit, by the 100% pure white light of love and gratitude. I'm going to just do a quick count in, a light count in from 5 down to 1. And when I reach 1 and 0, you may begin to share. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. My first question is, what is the most important thing for humanity to know and understand about what we would call divine flame, twin flame, or divine unions?
Okay, so the most important thing to know about divine union is that there is only one. It occurs obviously within each and every one of us as a fractal. The significance of what's occurring on the earth, or the opportunity or the reality that's occurring on the earth, is that it's a very rare experience, because there is an externalization of what happens inside in a very dense realm. So the union that occurs outside of the person, as a reflection of what's occurred within the two people, is really what is the leading aspect or component of the new energy, the Trinity energy, or 5D or higher dimensional. It carries a lot more power than just the literal coming together of the two people, whether it be in intimacy or just in a relationship. The energetic impact of the two people who have cleared enough and balanced enough within themselves when they come together has a huge, beyond human comprehension, a huge impact on the entire Earth grid, by virtue of their human aspect, their human consciousness aligning with the truth of the sacred geometry of divine union, internally now being externalized.
Yes. So it sounds like what you're saying is alignment is everything. Talk to me a little bit about what alignment in your divine union or in your twin flame union, what that really means.
So, okay, I'm trying to put this into words.
Yes.
So it's really, there's a really big, a block, has, there was a block or an impediment placed before all of us in this particular set of incarnations on the earth, and which had to do with trust. And of course, if it has to do with trust, it has to do with faith. So we've made futile attempts to have loving relationships when we've been handicapped. So we've reached a point where there's been enough of an unconditional love frequency come into the realm at the appointed time to support the expansion of a higher trust and a higher faith, which is being exemplified in many couples coming together, many couples coming together. I'm seeing it right now.
Yes.
They're all over the place. Now, the relationship, because there's a physicality to it, and because of the conditioning and the previous incarnations, lineage, ancestral, and all that, there's the same block for everybody, and it takes the human aspect to really surrender in faith to this higher trust, to this expanded trust, which is actually kind of like a new frontier for the universe itself, for the God goddess itself, experiencing itself in a higher degree. But it's through these creations where two or more come together and they're able to basically come into collaboration and co-creation in the pure love frequency, in the creation frequency. What they're actually doing is they're trusting the universe, which begins with their own trust within themselves. So the alignment is an expansion, it's an elevation, and it is rooted in the human consciousness. When the human consciousness, either within themselves or as they externalize it, when they go 100% surrender to the trust, like not a blind faith, but a kind of a knowing faith that everything is what we inherently know it is. And so in this experience, it's a very different experience. Like I said, it's very rare to be able to have the opportunity to be in this thick of a density and to actually be able to reach the point that people are reaching now. And it does, when you get right down to it, if there's a word, which is not in the human language, to really identify this alignment you're asking about, it would be trust.
Excellent.
Truth, trust. Yeah.
Thank you. Speak to me, please, about some of the myths or the mistruths that are out there in the collective regarding a twin flame union. And please let me know if you'd like me to be a little more specific.
You want me to do this? Okay. So, well, okay. So the divine union external experience is no different than the internal experience, because of the paths that we've had, the conditioning and the incarnations that we've had, that we can recall, and even that we can't through our ancestral lineage. There's a part of the I want to say the fractured human, the unwhole human, who yearns for this partner and this love, right? But it's been externalized. And so I guess one of the misunderstandings or mistruths is that when the two people come together, that one of the individuals or both have a belief that everything's just going to be fine, that they don't have to worry about anything anymore. It's actually kind of disempowering, and it's playing into the old loops that we were coming out of because they're all the same. So the the point is that um, it's a different, the 3D loops and patterns and behaviors is not slightly different. It's a totally different paradigm than the 5D templates, which includes divine union. It's literally love is freedom. There's no control, obviously. It's a little bit strange to the human aspect. It takes leveling up, leveling up, leveling up. It takes more trust, like we talked about a minute ago, and it can't be cheated or shortcutted. It's not like hard work, but it's very different, which kind of makes it seem hard. But I guess, to kind of sum it up, um, the misconception is that once you find them, everything's okay, everything's going to be fine. But that's kind of coming from a wounded human fractured aspect. If the individual, one or both, can take full responsibility for every single thing that's occurring, just like every other part of this ascension process, then the love flourishes within that person. And if they're in a relationship, the love's going to flourish within that relationship. Uh, if the other partner is not at that level, then one will come that is, and that's pretty much how it works. Um, but it's a very different type of concept, if we want to use that word, than what the humans have been used to. It's totally different. It's like night and day, and it's one is more forced, and one is just allowance and
Yes.
letting be. Yeah.
So while I believe it's true that we all have an internal twin flame, we all are masculine, feminine, and have the twin within. Is it true that every human on this planet has an external twin flame? Or is that not true?
That's a kind of a complicated answer. It's not a complicated question. It's a complicated answer. So if you make the statement, does everyone have a twin, as in a potential divine union partner? The answer is yes. If the question is there more than one? Then in this realm, the answer is yes. Um, so it's kind of a complicated answer, but um, if you went further than that, beyond this realm, then it would even get more complicated, which I'm not going to get into.
Okay.
But in terms of the realm, I think the maybe the best answer would be that there is someone there. There definitely is. In fact, there's for this incarnation, this experience, there's most likely more than one. It really has to do with the present situation. It has to do with the individual and where their frequency is, because even in a case where they're in an existing relationship, if their frequency increases dramatically, uh, they might be hooking up with somebody else, basically, if their partner doesn't match their increased elevation. So um, that's kind of a complicated answer, but I guess what I would leave it with is that there is definitely an opportunity and a potential to find uh, a partner that's at the same frequency and to build on the triad energy. Um, and then I guess I would add, going back to the last question, that um, the key is to really let go of any and all conceptions of what we might think this looks like and what this is, because it's actually being created. And that's a huge part, if not the core part of this experience that we're having on Earth, is the development of an expansion of the Trinity energy, uh, both internally and externally. But in order for that to happen, everything that we've ever believed has to go and will go, because until it goes, uh, that frequency match is going to be less inclined to happen. Uh, it's just going to take more work. If you're lucky enough to meet that person, you're both kind of on the path together. But the bottom line is, all the misconceptions, all the conceptions of what we think it is, uh, will leave us. They'll dissolve. They'll leave us either by force or by flow. Revelation, epiphany, they'll leave us.
Right.
It's nothing like we can imagine.
So the focus of this show is really about Atlantis and Lemuria. And in my understanding, twins were a thing in Atlantis. Literal twin souls walking around in a male and a female body in union. Can I ask you about the Atlantean twins and how they existed and what their primary purpose was in Atlantis and even in Lemuria?
Mm. Yeah, I can get that. So they're both a little bit different.
Okay.
And so there's two or three things to bring up here. One is the first question. Yes, Atlantis was a higher dimensional, 5-dimensional experience. But the Earth itself, the incarnations, the purpose of the Earth, and it's not just regulated to the Earth, is to expand the experience of creation, to expand to a higher perfection. Atlantis and any civilization or any period on the Earth has had the same objectives. They've just been at different points of or different degrees in the spectrum. So yes, there were. It was a different atmosphere in Atlantis. So there was a lot of high vibrational or highly intelligent consciousness and creations going on, but there was also the implantation of the ego and of the matrix, basically. So there was forces that were countering each other. The couples that were tuned in to divine union, let's just say, that were connecting with that template, had a different set of things or challenges or energies working against them than say today. But the development of the divine union template, what happened in Atlantis in regard to that was a huge part of the development of the divine union template to bringing us up to this point. Lemuria was a different situation. Lemuria was more organic. There was less, I would say, this might be kind of hard to explain, but so there was less interference in the beginning.
Good word.
Okay, so there was less interference. There was less of the physicality, including fourth and fifth dimension and so on, present or involved. Now, once the Atlantis thing started, which they ran at times at the same time, that's when that presence became more impactful on the Earth. That's when things started to get a little bit more chaotic. So one of the things is that uh, Lemuria and Atlantis were predominantly one one gender or the other. In other words, the society itself of Atlantis, there were times it was more matriarchal. There were times it was more patriarchal. Most of the time it was more patriarchal. Lemuria would be the other way around, more matriarchal. Most of the time it wasn't always that way. So they actually played a huge part as collectives in the development of this higher love, of the whole experience, and of the divine union template. The energies of those two civilizations clashing, not clashing, but contending with each other was a huge part of the collective development within each person's DNA, you know, within their own cellular. It was implanted. It was part of our story, and so on. So it was a it was a there was a lot of contrast between them, but both of them were created uh, as they unfolded. Uh, they they did what they were created to do, and that was to basically, in the present moment, to take these things as far as we could take them. And they were just made up a little bit differently. So that's kind of what I pulled out of that.
Okay, excellent. Morgan,
Mm.
you look like you have something to say.
No, not at all.
Okay.
I love the intel. It absolutely resonates. I would add one thing to that, and that was, these two civilizations were working together in polarities to actually
Mm,
create the third energy, to create the place of balance,
mm,
that we're actually, all these couples are aligning with and picking up on and going forward with.
mm,
See, I knew you had something to say.
mm,
I did think I did.
In my understanding, the original 144,000 that were birthed through the Vesica Pisces at the beginning of creation also birthed the original twin flame couples or templates. So now there's a lot of talk about, on this timeline about 144,000, and that number being the number of ascension, and that number of realized beings opening up, the gateways for all of us to come forward and ascend as everybody gets to play and everybody gets to win. So keeping in mind the number 144,000 being a gateway number of the original twin souls that inhabited the earth, or maybe Atlantis and Lemuria, how many true twin flame couples of that 144 are due to come together on this timeline to help the planet?
mm.
72,000.
Okay, so then there's like a question back that's coming back to. So the 144 is okay. So the 144,000 is not something that can really be easily explained in the human language.
Right.
The 144,000 by human terms actually represents exponentially a huge number beyond 144,000. Now this is in regard to the entire spectrum, which includes multiple dimensions. Now, in terms of the Earth, the number is very significant. And first and foremost, it's significant within the fractal, the human fractal itself. There obviously, as within without, there obviously is a matching external representation. So there would be a lot of discussion as I'm looking at this. I think it would be a lot. I think it will be a lot easier. Okay, so this is kind of weird.
We like weird.
I'm actually hearing a voice. So this is so the 144,000 has been achieved. And not in a traditional kind of a divine union definition, but not in a traditional understanding by the human brain, mind. But the 144,000 is rooted in half feminine, half masculine, so to speak. In other words, some of the relationships, some of these connections in the 144,000, and there's a lot more than that. I'll go back to that, but some of the connections in the 144,000 are not what we might call romantic relationships. They're not even physical relationships. Some of these are happening to a higher degree in the energetic field, although there might be some physical contact or physical communication. So it's a little bit complicated, but what I'm being led to say basically is that the 144,000 has been achieved, and it's been achieved more than once. And it's been achieved more than once in this lifetime. And this is happening like a, well, let's see. This is happening like one group started it, the next group goes off like dominoes, I'm seeing it more like a field lighting up. One bulb goes off, and the next one, then the next one, and now there's just a whole bunch of them. So it's really more of a 144,000 energetic frequency than it is 144,000 people. Let's put it that way.
What a fantastic solution for the planet. It really takes the idea of the 144,000 being multidimensional and not just a linear or a literal number, but being something that expands upon itself, just as creation and love continue to expand upon itself.
It's a copy of these relationships. First you complete that and do that within yourself. You make sure that you've got zero attachment to wanting a partner, especially like, somebody that you're going to call your twin.
Yes.
You achieve that in yourself, and the first thing you do is create a mirror of it. And then the mirror expands and expands and expands over and over and over again. So that's the frequency of the 144,000.
Right.
That once you achieve that, then it starts again.
Fantastic. I could speak on this topic for many, many hours with both of you, but because it's a 1-hour show, this feels like a good time to thank your higher selves, thank the two of you for being here and taking part in this experiment, and to invite you, Todd, to come back up into this time and space before we close out the show.
Wow, that seemed like 5 minutes.
I know, right? So when you channel, how much do you actively remember when you're done?
I pretty much remember everything.
Okay. And if you forget, we have it recorded.
No, I've always...
We remember.
Yeah. But on that 144 real quick too, like I was getting when she was talking, I was getting this little voice in my head, which doesn't happen a lot. And basically what I was hearing was the 144,000 is actually like a code. It's like a code, and everybody has the 144,000. And so going back to the first question, is what they said to me was that 144 is an internalization that we all carry. When that code is opened up, we're in this incarnation to actually externalize things. And then they went back to the first question and talked about the immense power that two people with the 144 code open, integrating in that full trust, and the huge impact that it has. And it's like, I can't even explain it. It's like one or two people impacting.
It's the equals. It's a 3, 6. That is actually the 9, because if you put 144 and 144 together, it's a 9. So it's actually a very important part of the code, love, which is 369.
Yes. Will you tell our audience where they can find the two of you, where they can find Soulogy One Studios, and then anything else you have out there in the world, social media related?
Okay. So we have Soulogy One Studios YouTube channel, which has, you know, I don't know, a couple thousand videos on there. We just really got active on it at the beginning of 2019. We have, we originate everything from my personal page, Todd Medina, as far as the broadcasts go because of the algorithms on Facebook. But you can also find us on Sology Group, and then there's a Sology One Studios Facebook page. We've got about 80,000 people in the community, hard numbers, but we have a lot more people every week that come in the door. And so, yeah, that's where you can find us. And then Morgan has Harry Oscamo's page and her page. She puts out a lot of great stuff. So that's anywhere else. That's
Excellent. My deepest gratitude for both of you for agreeing to come on my show and share with us your very open hearts and your deep wisdom and knowledge. I think we can all agree that this was just a really beautiful experience, and I appreciate the two of you so much. I will close out the show just by thanking everyone for tuning in, for sharing this information up on your social media, sharing the YouTube once it comes out, and supporting Todd and Morgan as well in their beautiful work with the collective. My name is Ameera Beth Mer-Healer. You can find me at ameerabeth.com. Next Tales from the Merworld episode will premiere on the 28th of May, and I will look forward to seeing you all then. Thank you for allowing me to express myself, and aloha.
Thank you, Ameera. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. I love you.
Take